Good afternoon. Welcome, everyone. I am Sharon Green Middleton, Vice President of the City Council, representative of the 6th Council District, and Chairperson of the Economic and Community Development Committee. This afternoon, we will hear the following bills: 21-0185 and 21-0186. And we're now going to take attendance, and I see the wonderful Councilman John Bullock of the 9th District.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
And moving right along, I see Robert Stokes of the wonderful 12th District.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
And we do have James Torrance, which is sponsor of the bills today. And I'm sure other council members will join us as we move on. And members of the President's Office, I see Nikki Thompson, Director of Legislative Affairs,
Thank you, Madam Chair.
and Lucy Font, Staff Assistant for Legislative Affairs.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
And representing the Office of the Mayor, I see Nina Thimulis, Deputy Director of Government Relations.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Before we begin, I would like to remind you that if you are not speaking, please keep yourself on mute. Please do not take yourself off of mute unless you are recognized. When recognized, please identify yourself and the agency or organization that you represent. Once you have finished speaking, please put yourself back on mute. So let's begin. Bill number 21-0185, zoning conditional use conversion of single-family dwelling unit to 8 dwelling units in the R8 zoning district. Variances 2044 Walbrook Avenue. For the purpose of permitting, subject to certain conditions, the conversion of a single-family dwelling unit to 8 dwelling units in R8 zoning district on the property known as 2044 Walbrook Avenue, Block 3211, Lot 023, as outlined in red on the accompanying plat, and granting variances from certain bulk regulations, lot area size, gross floor area, unit type, and off-street parking requirements. This bill was introduced on December 6, 2021. This bill was sponsored by Councilmember Torrance. Councilmember Torrance, would you like to comment about the bill? And before you begin, I also want to recognize member of the committee, Councilwoman Odette Ramos.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Sorry to be a little late.
No problem. And also member of the committee, Mark Conway of the 4th District.
Thank you, Madam Vice President.
And just checking to see if anyone else has appeared. Seeing none, Councilman Torrance, you're on.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good afternoon, colleagues. I come to you submitting this bill on behalf of the owner of Walbrook Avenue. The owner has received outstanding recommendations from the neighboring community members, as well as the community association, which is also accompanying the folder before you and files before you. So with that being said, I urge your strong support. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Torrance. Do committee members have any questions or comments for the councilman? Okay, hearing none, the committee will now hear from agency representatives, and we'll start with the city solicitor.
Hi, Madam Chair. This is Hillary Ruley from the Law Department. We stand by our report in approving the bill for form and legal sufficiency.
Thank you, Hillary. Now the Planning Commission, and as you're in discussion, please explain the findings. Is that Martin French?
Yes, Madam Chair. Martin French from the Planning Department.
Hi, Martin.
How do you do? And members of the committee. At its regular meeting on February the 10th of this year, the Planning Commission considered this bill. It heard staff report and testimony concerning the bill, and it voted to recommend approval of the bill with amendments, which I will go into. The Planning Commission resolved specifically that the use provided in the bill would not be detrimental to or endanger public health, safety, or welfare. It would not be precluded by any other law, including any applicable urban renewal plan. It would not be contrary to the public interest and would be in harmony with the purpose and intent of the zoning code, and that it meets all criteria specified in subsection 5-406B of the zoning code of Baltimore City as described in the staff report, which I will also go into. In addition, the commission determined that because of its particular surroundings and shape of the specific structure on that property, a practical difficulty would result if the strict letter of the applicable zoning code requirements were carried out, therefore variances would be appropriate. Secondly, that the Planning Commission adopted the report of the staff and the amendments that were recommended in that staff report. And specifically, the Planning Commission recommended amendment of the bill to prohibit use of the basement of the premises for residential dwelling purposes, and therefore recommended approval of the bill. Now for the details of the report itself. The property is occupied totally by a semi-detached building, which is also a street corner building. This creates a unique situation in the eyes of the Planning Commission in that the property, even though it is in the R8 zoning district, has certain unique characteristics that would make variances appropriate in this situation. The property is 18 feet by 70 feet, which is a substantial amount of floor area, and has been used in the past as a tavern, a restaurant, and a single-family dwelling, although it is now vacant. The zoning code requires for property in the R8 zoning district 750 square feet of lot area per dwelling unit. The lot area required for 8 dwelling units would have been 5,625 square feet. The lot itself only has 1,260 square feet. So a very large lot area variance is going to be required for this conversion, regardless of the number of units. The department recommended, and the Planning Commission agreed, that 8 units was an excessive amount, and that a conversion to 6 dwelling units would be more appropriate. And specifically, because 2 of the proposed 8 dwelling units were in the basement of the property, the Planning Commission determined that that would not be an appropriate thing to approve, and is recommending disapproval of use of the basement as dwelling unit space. The lot area variance that is in the bill would be modified, and amendments will be brought forward for that purpose. Each of the dwelling units would be a 1-bedroom unit. The requirement in the zoning code for conversion of a single-family dwelling to multifamily dwellings requires 1-bedroom dwellings have 750 square feet of gross floor area. Each of the proposed 1-bedroom units would have approximately 600 square feet of gross floor area. And again, given the size and location of the existing building at 2044 Walbrook, 6 1-bedroom dwelling units of less than 750 square feet of floor area should be marketable, and the Planning Commission agreed that would be an appropriate number. Parking spaces are also required off-street for newly created dwelling units. This building occupies the entire property, and therefore it is not possible to provide off-street parking on this site. In addition, because of the development pattern of the area, there is no opportunity for this owner to obtain off-street parking at any nearby site. It would also meet zoning code standards. As far as the variances go, the required finding of unnecessary hardship or practical difficulty is based upon the need for the interior space of the building and the fact that the interior space is larger than what would ordinarily be needed for a single-family dwelling. So the lot area variance to allow 6 dwelling units would be reasonable. The existing lot coverage allows creation of no parking spaces meeting zoning code standards on this site. And the owner is not able to provide any off-street parking space without first demolishing a part of the rear of the building, which therefore would be something that would be an unnecessary hardship for the owner. The other required findings, the Planning Department and the Planning Commission agree that the condition on which this application is based are unique to this property for which the variances are sought and not generally applicable to other property within the same zoning classification. This being a 3-story late 19th century structure that is large in relation to the lot that it is on. The unnecessary hardship or practical difficulty is not being created by the intentional action of a person with a present interest in the property. He's basically bought a property with an as-built condition that does not allow a number of items in the zoning code to be complied with. As far as conditional use, the Planning Commission determined specifically that required considerations in subsection 5-406B are being met by the proposal. The nature of the proposed site, including its size and shape, and the proposed size and shape and arrangement of structures is appropriate. There will be no impact on traffic patterns and adequacy of proposed off-street parking and loading as a consequence of this change. The nature of the surrounding area is compatible with the proposed use. It is proximate to dwellings, churches, schools, public structures, and other places of public gathering. There is adequate accessibility of the premises for emergency vehicles. There is adequate accessibility of light and air to the premises and to other property in the vicinity. The type and location of utilities, roads, drainage, and other necessary facilities remains adequate and will remain so. There will be no impact and negative impact on the preservation of cultural or historic landmarks and structures. There would be no negative effect upon the character of the neighborhood. The proposed use is consistent with the provisions of the city's comprehensive master plan. It is also consistent with any applicable urban renewal plan, the standards of the zoning code, and the intent and purpose of the code. Now, with regard specifically to the matter of the amendments which the Planning Commission considers appropriate, the first amendment would be to strike the reference to, first amendment would be to add in the preamble portion of the bill, after requirements, to add prohibiting the use of the basement level of the premises as dwelling units. The second amendment would be to strike the number 8 wherever it appears in reference to the number of dwelling units authorized, and substitute 6, the number of dwelling units that the Planning Commission recommends be authorized. It recommends, therefore, that the lot area requirement no longer be 5,625 square feet, as referred to in the bill currently, but be 4,125 square feet, which would be the lot area required for 6 dwelling units. And finally, a specific amendment to add a section 5 to the bill that prohibits use of the basement level of the premises as dwelling units. And that is the report of the staff and of the Planning Commission, and I would be happy to answer any questions anyone may have about this. Thank you.
And the committee does have the amendments, and thank you for the excellent explanation for the findings. And are there any questions from the committee to Martin French at this time? And hearing none, I also want to recognize a member of the committee, Antonio Glover of the...
Thank you, Madam Chair.
You're welcome. Councilwoman Ramos, you have a question for Martin French?
I had a question for the sponsor, but
Oh,
I can wait till after the agency reports if you like.
Okay. All right, we'll go ahead to the Board of Municipal and Zoning Appeals.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Nina Themelis with the Mayor's Office of Government Relations. I will be speaking on behalf of the BMZA. They follow the recommendation and report of the Planning Commission.
Thank you. Department of Transportation.
Madam Chair, Liam Davis, Baltimore City Department of Transportation. We stand by our bill report, which is no objection.
Fire Department. Thank you, Liam.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair. Derek Reddy, the Fire Marshal. We stand by our report.
Thank you. Department of Housing and Community Development.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Madam Chair. Stephanie Murdoch, Legislative Liaison for Dhcd. We stand by our bill report. We do not object to the passage of this bill. Thank you.
Thank you. The Baltimore Development Corporation.
Raven Thompson, BDC. We stand by our report, no objection.
Thank you. And the Parking Authority of Baltimore City.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Arco Sen from the Parking Authority, and we do not oppose the passage of the bill.
Okay. Councilwoman Ramos, you have your question or comment to Councilman Torrance, sponsor of the bill.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Councilman, I was just curious if, I don't remember hearing in your remarks about the amendments and how you and the community were feeling about the amendments.
So the community originally approved 8, but planning has made the amendments. I'm ambiguous on it. I'm trying to find the owner in the chat. I mean, ultimately, it's that person's right as it is their property as well. So I'm just trying to make sure we lift that person up. So, if you can give me a few moments, Madam Chair.
Sure. While you're doing that, we'll go ahead and start. If there's no more questions from the committee, we'll go ahead and move to public testimony. And then we'll come back. So we'll now
Madam
take.
Chair, the owner is Mr. Bashir. And
Okay.
he's actually in as an attendee, I believe,
Okay.
from his cell phone.
So what we'll do is go ahead and we'll start with him and his comments. For some quick instructions, computer users, please use the raise hand function. If you wish to testify, when called upon, please state your name. Attendees who call in by phone will be muted. Callers will hear 2 beeps. If you wish to testify, please state your name. If you do not wish to testify, please say so. And we don't have any hands raised. So let's go ahead and go with the callers. And we'll start with,
Sure.
yes, go ahead.
Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you so much, very much for all your comment here. Yeah, absolutely. We are basically this building, when we took it, it used to be about 10 bedrooms and restaurants. So we are making it, very, 6 units as, to make it looks, basically update the building and make it, officially 6 units to serve the communities. And thank you so much for all the help. Any questions, I'm here to help in any way.
So you're okay with the proposed amendments from the planning department?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you so much for your testimony.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Moving on, we're checking for any more callers. Caller number 2. You're being unmuted. Do you want to testify, caller number 2? Hearing none. I guess we'll take that as a no. Checking for more callers. Okay, no more callers. Okay, the committee heard the testimony that addressed the legal standards and findings. And there are amendments to consider to this bill. Is there a motion to move the amendments?
Move the amendments.
Second.
Motion moved by Ramos and second by Conway. All those in favor say aye.
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 All those opposed, nay. Hearing none, is there a motion to move the bill?
So moved.
Second. Conway.
So moved by Ramos, second by Conway. We're moving this bill favorable with amendments. Chair Middleton, yes. Councilman Bullock
Yes.
is a yes. Councilmember Conway
Yes.
is a yes. Councilman Dorsey, absent. Councilman Glover
Yes.
is a yes. Councilwoman Ramos
Yes.
is a yes, and Councilman Stokes is a yes. Okay, this bill will move to second reader at the next council meeting. And now we'll move on to the second and final bill. Bill number 21-0186, zoning conditional use conversion of single-family dwelling unit to 3 dwelling units in the R7 zoning district, variance 1635 Gwynn Falls Parkway, for the purpose of permitting, subject to certain conditions, the conversion of a single-family dwelling unit to 3 dwelling units in the R7 zoning district on the property known as 1635 Gwynns Falls Parkway, Block 3235, Lot 030, as outlined in red on the accompanying plat, and granting a variance from certain bulk resolutions, lot area size. This bill was introduced on December 6, 2021. This bill was sponsored by Councilmember Torrance. Councilmember Torrance, would you like to comment on this bill?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Similar to the previous bill, the owner of the property received recommendations and support from the company and the adjoining neighbors, as well as the community association. With that being said, I urge your strong support.
Thank you, Councilman. Okay, the committee will now hear from the agency representatives, and we'll start with the city solicitor's office again.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair. This is Vic Turvala from the City Law Department. We're prepared to approve the bill for form and legal sufficiency. We offered an amendment that's required. There are two spaces. This is a building in the R7 district, but the bill in two lines, on line 15 and line 22, talks about it being an R8 district, and this is actually R7. So we've offered that amendment. We've looked at the amendments that are going to be proposed by the planning department, and we're fine with those. So ultimately, if you amend the one that we suggest, we will approve it for form and legal sufficiency.
Thank you. Pardon? Okay. And the committee should have both amendments. Moving on to the Planning Commission. And that's Martin French again.
Yes, thank you again, Madam Chair and members of the committee. The Planning Commission reviewed this particular bill at its regular meeting on January 13th of this year. The Planning Commission found in favor of the bill, provided that a couple of amendments were added to it, basically as technical additions to the bill in order to make it complete. The specific recommendations for amendments are going to be a variance of off-street parking regulations and a variance of conversion standards for residential conversions to allow a second floor, one-bedroom unit with less than 750 square feet of floor area. Similar to the previous bill that you mentioned, just heard, this particular property is a large structure on a relatively small lot in relation to the square footage of the building itself, and therefore it was determined by the Planning Commission that this presents a unique condition which would make variances appropriate. With regard to the question of the off-street parking, the Commission determined that there would be 2 parking spaces required to serve the property, but the property is too narrow to provide 2 parking spaces in the rear yard. There can only provide 1 because it is only 15 feet wide. The zoning code requires a parking space to be a minimum of 9 feet wide. Therefore, a parking variance of 1 space would need to be added to the bill to meet this requirement. The other thing that the Planning Commission determined upon reviewing the floor plans proposed by the owner of the property was that one of the units that would be created would in fact have only 690 square feet of floor area. The zoning code requires 750 square feet of floor area for a 1-bedroom dwelling unit being created by a residential conversion, and therefore a second amendment to the bill would need to add a variance of the residential conversion standard for floor area. The Commission determined, as I said, that the state of the property was such as to make a unique situation appear, and secondarily, that it was a practical difficulty for the owner to meet such standards as the parking requirement because the property is only 15 feet wide and the neighborhood is completely built up. The owner does not have an option of obtaining additional off-street parking any place close by, as would be required by the zoning code. The Planning Department concluded that the conditions on which this bill rests are unique to the property, yet as a conditional use requirement in the zoning code, the conversion would satisfy requirements that the establishment, location, construction, maintenance, and operation of this multifamily use would not be detrimental to or endanger public health, safety, or welfare. The multifamily use would not be precluded by any other law, including any applicable urban renewal plan. The authorization for residential conversion would not be contrary to the public interest, and the authorization would be in harmony with the purpose and intent of the zoning code. Planning Department noted, and the Planning Commission agreed, that because this property is relatively close to the Mount Darwin Transit Station, this in fact is something that would support improved access to residential opportunities for people using public transit. The Commission further determined that the nature and shape of the site is appropriate for the proposed use. The resulting traffic patterns are adequate and will remain so. The nature of the surrounding area and the extent of the proposed use would not impair present or future development of the area. The proximity of dwellings, churches, schools, public structures, and other places of public gathering is appropriate. There is accessibility to the premises for emergency vehicles. There is accessibility of light and air to the premises and to the other properties in the vicinity. The type and location of utilities, access roads, drainage, and other necessary facilities is adequate and will remain so. This would not have an adverse effect on preservation of cultural and historic landmarks or structures. It would not have an adverse effect upon the character of the neighborhood. It would be consistent with provisions of the city's comprehensive master plan, also with provisions of any applicable urban renewal plan, and all other standards and requirements of the zoning code and the intent and purpose of the code. Therefore, Planning Commission is recommending approval of this bill with the amendments mentioned, and I believe you may have copies provided in advance of those amendments. They're basically friendly amendments to the bill in order to make it sufficient to meet all the requirements of the zoning code. And I'd be happy to answer any questions any member may have. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. French. And yes, the committee does have the amendments. And thank you so much for the good explanation of the findings. And Aaron DeGraffenreid, who reviews findings, was present but may have stepped away. Okay. So if there's no questions at this time for planning from the committee, we'll go ahead and move on. I guess just a quick question, Councilman Torrance, I assume you also approve these amendments as well from the Planning Department?
Yes, ma'am, but also Ms. Fancy is here representing the owner.
Okay, thank you. So let's move on to the Fire Department.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair. Derek Reddy, Fire Marshal. The Fire Department stands by its report. We have no objections.
Thank you, Fire Marshal Reddy. Next, the Board of Municipal and Zoning Appeals.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Nina Themelis with the Mayor's Office of Government Relations. The BMZA stands by its report in deferring to the recommendation and report of the Planning Commission.
Thank you, Nina. Department of Housing and Community Development, that's Stephanie Murdoch.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair, members of the committee. Stephanie Murdoch with Dhcd. We stand by our bill report. We do not object to the passage of this bill. Thank you.
Thank you. And Department of Transportation, we have Liam Davis.
Madam Chair, Liam Davis, Baltimore City Department of Transportation. We stand by our bill report, which is no objection. Thank you.
Thank you, Liam. Department, or should I say the Baltimore Development Corporation.
Raven Thompson, BDC. We stand by our report. No objection.
Thank you, Raven. And the Parking Authority of Baltimore City.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Arco Sen from the Parking Authority, and we do not oppose the passage of the bill.
Okay, do committee members have any questions or comments? Hearing none, we're going to go ahead and check the public testimony. And we have no hands raised, and now we're going to check for callers. Miss Michelle Lancy? Fancy, are you representing the owner?
Good afternoon, everyone. Yes, my name is Michelle Fancy, and I am representing the owner.
Okay, do you have any comments on this bill?
No, ma'am, just to thank everyone for their contributions. I just love the fact that everybody have a voice in this bill, And we can only get better and provide a better service with all these amendments. I think the amendments are great. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your testimony. And then there's another person, Danielle.
Yes, I'm here.
Would you like to testify on this bill?
No, I would not. Thank you.
Thank you. And caller number 2. Would you like to testify, caller number 2? Hearing nothing, we're going to go ahead and move on. So the committee heard testimony that addresses the legal standards and findings, and then we also have amendments to consider for this bill. Is there a motion to move the amendments?
So moved.
Second, Conway.
So moved by Councilwoman Ramos and second by Councilman Conway. All those in favor say aye.
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 Aye. All those opposed, nay. Hearing none, is there a motion to move the bill?
So moved.
Second.
So moved by Ramos, second by Conway. Voting on favorable with amendments. Chair Middleton, yes. Councilman Bullock
Yes.
is a yes. Councilman Conway
Yes.
is a yes. Councilman Dorsey absent. Councilman Glover
Yes.
is a yes. Councilwoman Ramos
Yes.
is a yes. Councilman Stokes is heard a yes. So this bill will also be moved to second reader. And I want to thank everyone for attending today's hearing and have a wonderful Tuesday. Take care.
Thank you. Have a good afternoon.